Nord, how are you doing?
I'm doing all right. How about you?
I am spnanon, and we are fapping in the 90s because this is episode 90 of the Strip Poker Night at the Inventory podcast. I am your host, spnanon, here with my co-host, Nord, and returning guest, Mymans76. Not quite the 90s, but we'll get there. We are covering one test roster character today that we probably should have covered in the previous two episodes, but we ran long thanks to somebody talking too much, but I won't name any names. You'll just have to listen to episode 89 and come to your own conclusions. We also have a number of main roster additions, some very solid characters to go over as well, and one art update. We'll see if we can get through it all. Otherwise, solitaire. Maybe you can cut this out to make it look like we planned better. First off, as always, is the host Shilling corner. Once again, I've been, I don't know if I want to say taking it slow, but taking it more methodical for the time being. Okay, yeah, Nord, thanks for getting ahead of ourselves. You don't need to post Aoi yet.
Well, you didn't have to mention that.
What? I'm going to post my stuff. I've been working on I think I mentioned last time, daily like generic line poses or revisions for Maya and Jura, trying to get them more up to speed with their modern voices and using a lot of the new poses that I've made over the last few months. That's one of the big things. I think I may have made too many poses at this point. I write lines for a case, and they're like, "Oh, I should use this pose. I should use this pose. I should have a line for." I should have a line for all these poses, and then later on I forget. It's like, oh, that pose would have been pretty good for a lot of these lines, and I just forgot about it. Yeah, I'm trying to just give them various new emotions. Some like more neutral stuff, like Jura just kind of talking like this. She should be a little bit more afraid of men. I think she warms up to them a little bit too quickly. Oh, I just made one pose. I think it's fun where characters just like inspect their own bodies a little bit. Maya has a pose like this already, but when she's just kind of like squishing her breasts a little bit, like, how are they feeling tonight?
Boob squish poses are always good.
Yeah, I did make boob squish for both of them, but I haven't used it a whole lot yet. I did a little bit more with Maya lying back, which I talked about last time. I know you're not the biggest fan of the perspective on this, but here's one where she's attacking both sides, you could say. I gave her a number of like fingering and like masturbating poses because I noticed she had very few just like normal, kind of sort of negative, neutral masturbating poses where she's a little more like focused. I don't think she's always so coy and seductive. Sometimes she's just like just looking at you. She's just staring. Got that stoic look to her. In general, I want to very quickly show the kind of thing where, like the pose maker that we use for animations, there's a ton that you can use that for. And what I've really gotten value out of is like using it just to save space and create like slight variations on like the facial expressions for these poses. You can kind of get double the mileage out of them if you just like make a little like closed mouth sprite, and then you have like silent versions of all of these. So you can write more silent lines and let the game breathe, but use a lot of like different poses for it. Or just cut poses entirely. I cut some of Jura's old poses for space, but instead of getting rid of them completely, I just made them custom instead. I used the body language of an old pose, and then kind of pasted them and like pasted the face of the pose I was cutting onto that one. Something that had a relatively similar body language that worked well enough. And you can kind of have your cake and eat it too in that way. And it's very nice because she was butting up against the file space size, and I need that for future endeavors.
I'm definitely going to have plenty to say about that technique later because I had to make heavy use of it for Zeke and Pandoria, who we'll talk about later.
That's all my shilling, but Nord, you've been active as well on the dev mod scene in particular.
Yes. It shouldn't take that long for this episode to come out, but we're currently taking applications for the Rework Masquerade. The 2024 rework, or well, not a rework Masquerade. It's a mix of the original, where people can make new characters, and the previous one, the rework Masquerade, that focuses on taking offline characters, incomplete characters, and actually finishing them as a modern character. Insijuani, one of our community members, maker of Queen of Hatred, is the one primarily organizing the whole thing, and we, the dev mods, have been supporting him throughout this endeavor. Applications just opened up a couple days ago. If you feel like you want to get into development for the game, but are very worried about being a newcomer to the scene, it's a great way to learn from veteran developers, because you'll be paired with people who are experienced with writing and with art, so they'll be able to handle the most difficult side of things, and you can learn by apprenticeship, essentially. So yeah, applications.
You also wrote a big essay.
I did.
Maybe you'll get into that a bit later. I don't know if you want to talk about it now.
I'll talk about it now, actually. But just if you're interested, give the Masquerade. I keep calling it the Rework Masquerade out of habit. Give it a look if you feel interested. Now, this essay I wrote is very relevant to the characters of Zeke and Pandoria, who are a 2-in-1 or duo or dual character. They're slightly different from the current selection of characters we have in the game that have a companion, such as Jura and Barnett. Barnett doesn't really stick around to play the game herself, but she's there for a lot of interactions that Jura may have. A dual character takes this a step further by essentially having two characters in one slot, with one of them being the leader and the other one supporting them, following along with the rules of the game and taking their items off when they lose. So I've seen a lot of hype and buzz around them around the concept of dual characters, now that Zeke and Pandy have made it to main. There's also Sani and Tess, who have graduated from April Fool's characters to testing roster characters, now that we're rolling out SPNatI support. We'll talk about them another day, but now that we have a 2-in-1 character on main and one in testing, there's a lot of buzz about people suggesting, oh, what if you made Lloyd and Yor from Spy X Family into a dual character? Or this, that, and the other into a dual character.
Aang and Katara was another one.
Aang and Katara was another one that was suggested. So I went ahead.
I don't fuck with that.
I went ahead and preemptively wrote an entire essay about what they are as a concept, what people should endeavor to when deciding to make a dual character. And most of the essay was outlining why you shouldn't make one. For one thing, pragmatically speaking, they take about 3 times as much effort for the same gains that a normal character takes. And another one is that a lot of people just think, oh, any couple or any pairing from canon should be made into a 2-in-1 character, when in really there are very specific circumstances that I think they could work under. If you're interested to know more, you can give the full essay a read. There should be a link to it in the subreddit, maybe even in the video description. But I'll touch upon that a bit more when we talk about the dynamic duo later.
Mymans, you're not a host, you're a guest. But is there anything you'd like to very briefly shill? I don't suppose you have any news on Navi or anything.
No, I don't have any news, but I will be working on the projects that I had planned now that my uni work is almost over, so that'll be nice.
It'll be nice to see you around more. Sheesh, though, why'd we even invite you this time? There's nothing on the agenda here for you to cover, or that you made.
I'm just that cool. I actually made every single project, and everybody is my alt account, including you.
Well, if you're so cool, Mr. Cool Guy Jones, why don't you be the first to talk about Aoi Asahina from Danganronpa? I don't know which one because they're all the same to me. They're just that game where they stand perfectly still forward with their arms at 45-degree angle, and they make faces and little anime grunts when you talk to them.
I believe she's from Trigger Happy Havoc, which is the first one.
I was going to say that means nothing to me. You're going to have to tell me. I know there's 3 of them. When are they going to make a 4th one?
I think they already made a spiritual successor that is essentially the 4th one, but with like brand new characters.
Why a spiritual successor? Are they done with that? What's going on? Is it like Mother? The creator doesn't want to make anymore?
Honestly, who knows? I don't know. The fans probably know. Mymans, do you know?
Even the 3rd one had been out like when I started working on this game.
I have I bought like 3 Danganronpa games, but I have not played a single one of them, and I have specifically tried to avoid spoilers, so I don't really know anything about Danganronpa.
Well, it's like a murder mystery kind of game, right?
No, yeah, I mean, I know that, but
yeah.
I don't know any specifics because since the story is the game,
Or like it's weird. It's like they die over the course of the game. I'm not sure if she dies, but apparently they're all being written as if there's like an alternate reality where they don't die, but like things kind of happen still.
It's a strange series because from what I gather, each game has a sort of new game plus where it is literally just like an alternative universe where nobody actually dies by the end of it. So I guess they're just incapacitated or something.
Well, that's nice because I hate for her to die. She's a cute tan tomboy. She likes swimming. She likes all sorts of tomboyish activities. I think she has like some kind of issues with her femininity. She's not sure if she's feminine enough.
Looking in the game real quick to make it look like I know the difference, Aoi is from the same game as Kyoko and Chihiro.
Right. Okay.
So they're all from the first game. Mikan, Mahiru, and Chiaki are all from the second Danganronpa, and Kokichi is from Danganronpa V3.
Who recently made a return, but we'll talk about him some other time. Mymans, what did you think of Aoi Asahina? This is, I think, the 2nd or the 3rd effort by Ace of Diamond. I think he originally wrote Chie from Persona, who's kind of a similar tomboyish character. And I think he made Taya Gardner from Yu-Gi-Oh! As well. So this is his 3rd character. What did you think of her?
All right, so I do think that this is probably his best character thus far. I think he's making improvements, but I will be honest and say that I am going to be a little more on the critical side about her. So one thing about her that stuck out to me is that there is a dissonance between detailed parts of her model and more defaulty ones. So like her face is like very detailed and her hair is like pretty close to Source, but then a lot of her other parts, the other parts in her model are not as detailed. Like,
I think he got some help from Papa Chub Nubs, who's a new user, who's also working on a Danganronpa character, Toko. I'm not sure which game she's from, but he is we'll talk about a bit about him when she eventually hits the game. But let's just say he's
Toko is
he's quite skilled at working from references.
Toko is also from the first game.
Okay.
I think.
Man, is that the most popular game? What?
So like in the pose where she stripped her leg band, I think it very properly encapsulates what I'm trying to say, because like the leg band itself, it looks pretty detailed, but then when you compare it to like her jacket and her shirt and her shorts, there's like a noticeable difference in the amount of detail, right? And like I feel like that's distracting. Like when I look at her model, I'm thinking uh there's like it feels a little incoherent because the amount of details don't match up in every part, especially for like her where she lost her jacket, she's wearing her shirt, because from like the neck down she looks mostly default, but then from the neck up you see a much more detailed face and hair and everything.
She also has a very long neck. It's just easier to see with the jacket off.
I think the long neck is one of the things that comes from making like the face and all as source accurate as possible, but then doing that when the model is fully clothed and not really factoring in how it'll look out of clothes.
I suspect that's what happened. I always recommend that you start from naked and work your way up.
Yeah. Speaking of naked, I think her nude stage looks fine, aside from two things, which is the navel. I think that closer to source accuracy, the navel could be like something between the number 3 and number 6 in Kizike. And I think she could really benefit from having a torso with a few more details, since she's meant to have a well-built, athletic kind of body. Nothing really crazy is needed, just like a few details. I think that'll be a pretty big improvement.
I don't know if this is canon art or not. I'll probably lean to the side of it isn't. Oh wait, no, hold on. She apparently does.
So she does have big titties.
She apparently does have canon swimsuit sprites.
Nice.
So there is that one where there is a existing preset navel that would look accurate.
What do you think of dialogue, by the way? Talked mostly about art.
Right. So, with her dialogue, okay, so I think that it's mostly fine, but I think it doesn't read very well because the posing doesn't quite communicate it, because I think for her poses, she lacks two things, which is facial expressiveness. Her face doesn't contort very much, and that's something Danganronpa characters do. Their face does change into like anime goofy kind of expressions, and with the poses, they don't move very much. And like I noticed there's stuff like custom hands, so I don't think it's like they got lazy with the poses. I just don't think they need to be touched up a little more so that she can more properly exude her personality. And I think this is like the poses. I think it's much more important for that to be done well than the dissonance in details that I mentioned. But aside from like her normal dialogue, something I do think she fails at, honestly, is that she doesn't engage much with the sexual part and shows little sexual interest with the game. Like she just doesn't really seem very interested in other people getting naked and reacts like kind of normally. I think a way to put it would be like that. A lot of the time it feels like she's just playing normal non-strip poker.
Yeah, that's something that I wrote down as well, that she feels kind of too competitive / asexual, which I think is a common trap that people fall into when they write a character who is competitive in some other aspect of their lives. They get very focused on winning, but this is not a swim meet. This is strip poker.
Are you sure? Because she does have the option to go swimming on a background with water in it.
Wait a minute, this is strip poker? But yeah.
You want me to do what?
Yeah, that's something that is just like, I even put that in the writing guide, like, just like, dude, you're probably going to lose, just write about sex. That's what the game is about. Focus, if nothing else, focus on what is she like, what does she want to see, what are her like gender expectations. Because I alluded to that. I think that's part of her character, that she's sort of like she's worried she doesn't come off as like feminine enough because she's like competitive and likes to swim. She should talk to Nagatoro. They're swimmers and they have the same skin tone, which makes them friends. That's how it works.
I think that's a common trope with tomboy characters, is they often have a dash of, am I being feminine enough? That even comes across with Leone sometimes.
You look fine, girl. Jesus Christ, your swimsuit's about to break.
Okay, some advice I would actually give, even though it was literal years since I wrote Leone, would be, like, with her, it felt very easy for me to turn that, like, competitiveness, like competitive nature, into like sexual competitiveness or the sexual frustration. So you could easily spin that sort of way with Aoi's I can't say her name. With Hina's dialogue, you could do it.
Yeah, she wants to be called Hina, I guess, because no one can say Aoi.
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 I have a random note here, just from a one-off conversation I had, where it makes me unsure if Aoi would say the word dead ass, because apparently she's not the kind of person who would say that in Source. And it very much feels like a more like modern bit of slang compared to when Danganronpa was made.
Something you do often have to consider is word choice, especially if like there's not necessarily a dub, or if the dub isn't great or the translation isn't great. You have to kind of consider what kind of character they are and watch your language.
From what I've heard, the like dubbed version is fine if it has one. Well, I'm almost certain it has one. A lot of my feedback comes down to the posing as well, which you two have already covered. I think Ace, I think, sort of like does like the first version of poses, and then it's like, right, I'll upload this as soon as they've like gotten their first wave of feedback on a pose, and then when it's a pose that requires a bit more effort, they do kind of stop once they've reached it looking good enough. Which honestly I live by for a lot of the things I make, but sometimes you have to really know when you're going to like actually stop because it's like in a good state versus stopping because, okay, I got it out of the way, time to move on. And on that note, my biggest critique of Hina at the moment would be her forfeit posing. I've already made her dev aware of this, but her posing is sort of been made with like very little understanding of what's actually going on down there. And so I tried to give demonstrations using SPNatI sprites from other characters of like, here's what you should be aiming to do. Because there's only so many ways you can make the forfeit posing look good. At the time,
are we going to do that? Are we going to out him on the in a public forum about his confusion?
To
be fair, this is his third character. I feel like he should know where the clitoris is at this point and what it does.
Okay, I wasn't going to out him for that, but what I am going to say is
I kind of will though, because like this is your third character.
third character, and like not using any hand variation, so it literally just looks like she's rubbing her wrist against her area. That's kind of like very questionable. Of like, do you actually know what you're meant to be doing in this stage?
It's not even like, oh, haha, you're a virgin. It's like you could just look up a video of a woman masturbating, or like anatomy.
You could look up R34 or hentai of characters doing this, and like it would be more accurate. But I'm not saying this to be mean. I'm just saying it to be like, you could always take a cue from other SPNatI characters to make your own look better. Like, steal as much as you need to. Honestly,
I sure have.
Oh, I shouldn't call him a virgin. There's plenty of people who have had sex and know nothing about their bodies. Myman76 is typing.
So two quick things that I do want to suggest for Aoi is regarding to her chest. Her chest normally I don't completely advocate for this, but I think her chest could use a little shine because that's how it is in her source, at least for when she has her clothes on. When she doesn't have her bare chest, I think it could have a little shine, because that kind of makes it pop out more, and that seems to be the intent in her source material. And this is a suggestion, right? This is not necessary stuff, but I think that for her stage where she took off her jacket and now she has her shirt on, I think it would be nice if her nipples poked, if you gave her pokies, because she doesn't actually wear a bra under her shirt. So I'm thinking, well, I mean, that would make sense. Those are my things. Those are my suggestions.
Those are some nice titties. It seems like it's a prominent feature of her character design. It's almost a disservice to have purely custom ones. You can add, extra wrinkling and a better curve. We have talked a lot about her already. I will briefly list off some of my notes here. I know we got to move on, but this is the testing character. I think we'll cover the others a little bit quicker. When she was stripping, I mean, there wasn't a lot of targeted lines. She is still pretty new. She did a lot of what I call lore stripping, where she probably talked a little bit too much about her lore when it's her turn. That's something you should generally save for targets, although I understand that she doesn't have any targets at the moment. But when she talks about that kind of thing apropos of nothing, it does seem kind of weird. Maybe try to fit that in somewhere else. Again, it's you want to focus on sex and those aspects because that's what she's doing. I think you might want to consider changing her label that other characters call her to Hina, if that's what she wants to be called, since most people will probably respect that. More pose variety, we talked about that. You posted references here. There are a lot of very cute, expressive faces that you should look into implementing as best you can that I didn't really see in my game with her. So yeah, consider that as well. Speaking of her nice titties. Her nipples, they're set too close. I think you might want to take another pass at her nude breasts. They have a weird kind of too circular curve to them. They don't really look enough like teardrops. They look like a little pushed together, which is a common issue that custom breasts have, or just drawn breasts in general, that they look invisibly held up by something.
Yeah, that and the shadow should go on the inside curve a bit more, I would say. Well, overall, Aoi, aka Hina, I think she's in a good state for being in testing, but there's quite a bit to go before she might be ready for sponsorship. But hopefully her developer keeps at it.
Oh, last thing I want to say regarding posing is that it's tough to kind of visually communicate stuff about her sometimes because she's a swimmer, and she is not swimming at the moment. But you can do a lot of stretching and exercise kind of poses. The custom leg positioning tabs that can help a lot in Kisuke. Apparently, she likes donuts. Make a pose where she's eating a donut. Why not? I'm a big fan of that. I think in all regards, kind of like his previous character, she's very serviceable at the moment, but she's just kind of missing the sauce, and I think you can do a lot more. That does it for our main test roster edition, or the main fully new character. We talked a lot about her. We gave her a lot of time, but that's because it's kind of to make up for the fact that we didn't cover her when we maybe should have. So let's quickly do a bit of a mini lightning round here. There have been a lot of main roster additions as well. They've been graduating pretty steadily and healthily off of testing. First up is Jenna from Golden Sun. Nord and I have obviously given our thoughts on all these characters already, so Mymans, we will let you talk a little bit more than either of us will. But what did you think of Jenna coming off the heels of Mia? Again, from the same game, they're in the same party. Made partially by the same guy. You did the artwork, right?
Yep. I handled all the artwork, and Soulheart handled the writing.
Mm-hmm. What'd you think, Mymans?
So I have only really played the first Golden Sun, and I haven't finished it. So I don't know much about her or the story of Golden Sun. So I'm like evaluating her from like a general character kind of standpoint. But overall, okay, so like her model, I think she has a lovely model. Like I think a way to describe it is like she has a nice, gentle kind of vibe. For her writing, I think she's like a more low-key kind of character. But I don't think that's a bad thing. It's like just an observation. She's a sweet character to add to a table. I think the bottomless sweater look that she has for her stripping order, I think that's cute. That's a neat look. I think it's nice. And yeah, she's just overall a nice character. She doesn't do anything crazy, but she doesn't need to. She works as she is. The one mistake that I want to point out is that she kept repeating herself in some lines towards Mia, or she kept talking to her even though Mia didn't reply. And she also had some filtered lines that acted as if though she didn't know Mia. So giving those a check to either play once here and there, or making sure they are playing the right cases, I think that would be good.
Yeah, I think there are a lot of like kind of rookie mistakes on like the coding level with Jenna regarding like filtered lines, maybe playing too much or like playing all in a row, or
it can be difficult to work that out.
Yeah, and it's unfortunately like it's the kind of thing where like you need to target a franchise mate on like every relevant stage and case to make sure that kind of thing doesn't happen, where they act like they don't know each other.
So I'll just say that like this is a similar situation to what happened with Aquagrunt, where after I made Magma Grunt and got her onto me, and I acquired a model of Aquagrunt, and then gave Saltmine a chance to write her with essentially free reign, because like I felt confident doing the art, and then leaving the writing in someone else's hands means that I don't fall into the trap of essentially making the same character twice. And the same thing happened here with Jenna, where I essentially gave Soulheart free reign to write her as he pleased, but obviously I worked very heavily for the targeted line interactions. And I quite like how she's turned out. I gave her a playtest there. I didn't pair her with Mia, so I saw more of her generics and filters. My one little critique is that she's very willing to drop lore bombs, just in like generic hand dialogue, which I'm almost certain, like just from memory, I'm pretty sure that was a sponsorship requirement. So I think just
it's like they seem like played in a sequence almost, like it's a marker thing.
Probably.
Which again, it's the kind of thing where you write it, but then it like plays out the same way every time in every game, and it almost comes off as like a school essay. I think she even had a line halfway through the game where it's just like, and that's all the ways that Synergy helps us in our lives. Like,
yeah. So
is that how you say it? Synergy?
We never hear it spoken out loud unless there's some
Game Boy game
effort for it. Yeah, looking at it, it looks like she just starts saying lore in a hand any case. So maybe making that a priority 0 line would be good. So that's like it's a random chance of her starting the lecture.
It's it kind of relates to a pivot in philosophy that I've had, and I'm speaking from a privileged position because I have like years and years of targets to fall back on that are covering a lot of these topics. But I think you may want to consider, saving a lot of like the really specific details for targets, and in generics you want to just more like allude to them. Like it's okay to talk about them, but I think getting into the really nitty gritty details when no one asked sounds kind of weird. And it's not really necessary. The important thing is how that all informs her perspective on like sexuality, because that's what you're usually talking about in generic lines. The best way I can put it, or like generic questions that she asks people. Because when you think about lore, like if I have played Golden Sun, then I already know, and if I haven't played Golden Sun, then I don't know what she's talking about. So either way, it's getting like I don't need to read the wiki. Is the thing. or summarize the plot. Like I know that already.
I think that's I'll use Aqua Kingdom Hearts as an example where she specifically takes out the Keyblade to like be able to explain just in a generic way to others, hey, here's my job, here's what I do, here's the weapon I use. And then she just drops little tidbits about light, heart, darkness, etc. throughout the game.
Yeah, leave some mystery for the people who don't know. So you have to get to know her over time, over a bunch of games. She had very few targets in the table that I played, which was mostly the main roster releases. So might want to consider, people criticize only targeting those in your development class, but it's not a bad thing to do so. Yeah, I think the big thing is that she kind of failed to stand out in my eyes. She felt kind of overshadowed by Mia, or she feels like she's in Mia's shadow still. Even the butt pose, right? Mia's butt casts a longer shadow.
Well,
even though they are similar quality.
Well, Jenna was designed to have more of a focus in the chest department because she takes off her sweater last, so it's the big reveal. So it gets a lot more emphasis placed on it.
Yeah, just try to fill out targets more in general and kind of pivot your generic lines into something that's a little more conversational. And I think she'll go a long way in kind of standing out.
Uh-huh. I'm obviously biased, but I think she's turned out really well. She doesn't feel like a Mia 2.0 to me, and now that she is on me and Soul Heart can take their time to really refine her further.
It is nice to have another Golden Sun representative, isn't it? Speaking of franchises,
how about another Golden Deer representative?
Franchises that definitely need more representation. We have Lysithea from Fire Emblem Three Houses. Talk about games alone in a franchise that definitely need more representation. We have perhaps the greatest representative. Nord, will you get offended if I say that? Not to say that Leonie and Petra and Ignatz, they're not all good.
I will get offended. How dare you? I love them all equally.
She finally made it. She had a bit of a long development sponsorship process. Great Ghost. He kind of comes in and out. He doesn't post too many updates, or he's not that fast about it, but they are always of a good quality. He's now apparently working on Sayori as well. He's going to rework and update her. I'm not sure to what extent, but he seems interested. He was even briefly Strawberry Spirit. It's gone back to Great Ghost now.
They've given up on that pretty quickly.
You can't make as many puns with it.
You can't beat the grape.
Mymans, what did you think of Lysithea?
Lysithea is Grape Ghost's first character, right?
You wouldn't be able to tell, would you?
Yeah, I think she's a pretty kind of hit kind of character for a first time. Not all developers get a super good character for their first try, and that's normal. That's expected. But I think Lysithea is a pretty good hit for a first character. I think she has a very nice model. The hair and the hair accessories look especially neat, in my opinion. I think those were done pretty nicely. For her personality, I think her mixture of smug, competitive, serious, and her desire to be taken more seriously come true nicely and make her a pretty fun character. And I like how she gets more relaxed and needy perhaps for her forfeit. She gets into it, and I think that's always an appealing thing for characters to do. I think her forfeit dialogue is nice.
I think she has two ways she can go with her forfeit. She can either be quite submissive, or she can be quite bratty.
A power bottom, if you will.
She's got that replay value.
I think the ones that I've gotten have been bratty then. I think. I'm not really sure. I haven't checked out her file or anything.
Any other comments?
No, I think that's where I'll leave it. She's just a really, really nice character. Great thing, great work for the first try.
Nord, what about you?
I definitely agree. I think Grape Ghost has captured her voice really well. I got about halfway through my Golden Deer run, but as I was playing a test game with her the other day, I had Lysithea's support conversations up on another screen. Because Fire Emblem characters have fully voiced supports now. It's crazy. And I think Grape has captured her just general tone and her attitude really well. With her like interactions with other characters that's been developing, she's leaning very much into the spirit of, if I'm going to have a reduced lifespan anyway, I may as well live a little. Which I think is great. I know that in her like preset table, you're actually working to make it so that I guess Revi passes her a cigarette afterwards.
It's already in there. I think it might need one more update to activate it, but I'm good on my end. Yeah, there was something he said in particular. He is fixated on the image of is her smoking a cigarette. Which, yeah, if she's gonna die at like 25 or whatever, then I guess it doesn't matter. Especially her, they say it'll stunt your growth. What if your growth is already stunted?
What if your growth is already stunted by magically transplanted cursed bloodlines or whatever crests really are?
Yeah, apparently she's not even impressed when she finally does it, because it's like, oh, I've inhaled the smoke from like controlled burns on the brush in combat, and this is nothing in comparison. I really like her though, and I've enjoyed workshopping interactions with Grape Ghost and DMs, and I hope to do some stuff with Maya and Jura as well. Maybe a more consensual version of the Natsuki like breast smushing pose where Lysithea actually asks for that.
I've been hashing out banter as well. There's some interesting developments between her and Dunban to look forward to.
Dunban? Oh my god.
Yes, also on her preset table.
Yeah, she's well, geez. Is he going to catch up to Leon in terms of getting action?
Who's to say? And anyone that knows me knows what I mean when I say that. But
we've entered the new era. It used to be just like everyone got their like fake harems, where it was just like a bunch of female characters crushing on one character like Pit, and now we have technology. We can fuck them by proxy. Why make an epilogue when you can just mush your dolls together and have them fuck someone else?
I think Grape Ghost deserves credit for being like a very methodical developer. Like, just I appreciate their like I guess persona of like coming in saying, "Have a great evening, everyone," and then just
it's funny every time
pushing the update and yeah, and like, wow, you've added like 200 new lines, and they're all like well written and like cute or funny or endearing. So yeah,
I was like personally offended when she didn't immediately get like 3 or 5 sponsors or whatever it was, and I went in and did it myself. And mostly what I just asked for was more sexual lines directed at me.
Yeah,
I can't just fuck her whenever I want, like Dunban can apparently.
Spoilers.
Yeah, so I liked her flirty lines, and I bratty, dumb, whatever. I just want to see more of them, even when I'm not directly jerking it. So that's what I asked for. In general, she feels very real in a way, despite being magical and from faux medieval times. She feels very real in terms of like she wants to get out there and experience things, and when something goes wrong, she's just like, "This is my one chance. This is my whole fucking weekend. God damn it, don't ruin it."
Yeah.
She's very cute, and in her body language, she's like needy, but in like a fun way. Where it's just like she needs to be like pleased, or she really wants something to happen a certain way, and that's engaging to interact with. Nor, did you have anything else to say? More Mymans?
I don't.
I just hope to see more from Grape Ghost in the future. I'm looking forward to the Sayori update, and I am looking forward to whatever character they make next, if they make one.
All right. Well, Mymans, you answered no there, but I hope you have something to say about Yae Miko. who's next up from Genshin Impact. I'm not sure how many Genshin characters we're up to, but I think we may have hit what
5,
technically
actually. I counted. We are at 5. I counted a little before the podcast started because I was checking them out. We are at 5 right now.
Okay, apparently it's at 6 where we hit critical mass. And it just explodes. Although I'm not sure if Genshin's time in the zeitgeist is faded. Apparently there's some new thing called Honkai Star Rail. I don't know, they're all the same to me.
They're all MiHoYo stuff, and they're just making money. They're money-making machines.
What'd you think of Yae Miko by Cavendish? He was on last time to talk about her. Or the last time he was on, he talked about her. Oh yeah, she's getting a butt pose. Nice. It actually looks like a good full butt. Thank you. No dinner plate ass. It's a butt that a deity deserves. What'd you think of her?
So, from what I've heard from like previous Genshin characters, doing Genshin characters in Kiseki is a pain in the ass a lot of the time. So with that in mind, I think this is a really excellent model. I especially want to praise the lingerie she has. I think it's a very nice touch that she has. And yeah, I mean, all of her model, I think it was pretty nicely done. And yeah, as I said, Genshin characters, hard to do. Nice job. So as far as her writing goes, basically, from what I understand, her deal is that she's like a dominant and graceful woman. At least that's what I got from it. And in that sense, I think she does it quite well. You know, the whole dummy mommy. I think that's a way to put it. Maybe that's not quite right for her, but in any case, I do think that she's a very nicely written character. One thing I want to like mention too regarding, so like idle comments. You know how characters like have their generic things that they talk about related to themselves or their universe or what they do. For Yae Miko, I think that her comments about like novels and literature and like this scriptures, I think. Anyway, and like all of that in relation to like what she does, I think they were an interesting read because like they felt substantial, but I think they also had her personality attached to her. Like a lot of the time, I feel like those lines where like character talks about like stuff they do, the lines can feel kind of boring. Like, I mean, that's just natural. It's just not that interesting. Not any fault of the writers, but I think in her case, they're an interesting read. So yeah, overall, she's a really high quality character.
I think it's manuscripts over scriptures.
Yeah, I think manuscripts is the word.
Yeah, they're like people sending in like novel ideas, basically, or drafts of novels. Nord?
I want to give a shout out to Neom for the model, Bullet Shock for doing the majority of the posing, and then in Bullet Shock's absence, I've just been helping out with the posing and fixing up art for sponsorship stuff. The writing by good old Cavendish, very good. Some funny lines, some very neuron activating lines is what people say these days. a bit like meta in regards to like talking about genres that are continuously popular, like Reborn in Another World type stories. In general, as someone who has never really plans to play Genshin Impact, I enjoy experiencing its world through these characters that are added.
You don't have to pay for it.
That's true. But I don't have to pay for these either.
These nuts?
Oh, you got me. Damn.
I'm not really sure what these means.
So this is Cavendish's fourth character, and I definitely think he's like got a very refined talent for it now. Based on like historically speaking, I'm imagining he'll continue writing Yae Miko until she has over 3,000 lines, and then he'll probably move on to someone else. But overall, Yae Miko is already like a fantastic character.
Oh yeah, it is. She is his fourth character, and he made a little Reddit post, shameless shilling for telling people to vote for all four of them in the resort. That hasn't quite shaken out yet. Nor do you probably know how it's going. But I think results get posted tomorrow at the time of this recording. I'm sure she'll do well. She seems like a popular character even among like Genshin fans. I like her in general. I especially like this pose. I think this is pretty unusual style of stripping, where you kind of like she takes off her top, kind of like pulling it in towards herself and popping out her breast that way. That's pretty unusual and fun and sexy. More like a swimsuit style.
I think that's a side effect of how the hell do you take off this anime outfit?
Yeah, these are very ornate outfits, which is one of the things that makes Genshin characters hard, I assume. And yeah, it's not always clear how you take these off, how they're put on in the first place. I can't believe there's no sequence in every character source material where they get undressed.
They just poof onto their bodies.
I had to think about it for Jura and Jura's dress, how that works, how it's held up.
I can absolutely say that she has like 6 different image attachments that have to be moved for every single pose.
How fun.
My one critique of Yae Miko at the moment, she had like nice targets as well. My critique is that she feels a bit. I think he's trying to lean into the Dami Mommy thing, but it's like she feels like kind of too impatient. I get the impression she's supposed to be, she's very long-lived, very serene, kind of like Senko, but more. She's not really eager to please. She's more like eager to be pleased. She kind of gives orders and stuff, but she's like not serene enough. She's not like. I understand she's normally in a position of authority and the object of reverence, but I don't know. It feels like she would have the maturity to accept or acknowledge that in this specific social situation, she doesn't have that same status. She needs to be like more accepting of how like the inherent equality of the game. She can kind of like it, like in her mannerisms, she can still like convey that she kind of considers herself superior to others, but it's just like she doesn't seem like the kind of person that would get like annoyed by small item removals or a bad hand or something. Like Nigo Robin never does that, for instance. There's a similar kind of character. I bring her up especially because Yae Miko has entered the annals of the Hall of Fame of characters that Jura considers to be role models because they're kind of older and elegant and have big titties. So yeah, just I think she should be like more unflappable, at least in regards to like other things that maybe other characters would find kind of annoying. Maybe I just don't know the character, but it seems like I don't know. She's like ordering me to get tofu. Is like, would she really expect that from like people who are not from her country and don't care? I don't know. Seems like she wouldn't be so out of the loop.
It's very difficult to get this sort of archetype across, I feel. I think Cav has done a good enough job at it. It's just difficult to really. It's especially difficult to write that sort of personality in generics because it's sort of like apropos of nothing. How do you show like dominance over others?
Well, I think the main thing you can do is just if you're dominant, you can just stay cool. That's what power is, right? You don't have to prove yourself. Like you just know. It's big dick energy.
Yeah, true.
She's got to have big tit energy.
Big ear energy.
And also big titty. Well, our last full main roster character, as in like, excuse me, full main roster edition, not a rework or anything, is Zeke and Pandoria, a twofer by Nord, who you briefly talked about this already since they triggered a full essay that you posted on Reddit. But please explain what you've done here and why. And like, well, what's been happening since we talked about them on testing?
Well, I think I gave my justifications for why these two before. So I'll not repeat myself too much now, but I will just say them being a 2-in-1 character is because they have a particular dynamic that just would not be able to exist at all if they were separate characters and someone had the option of picking one without the other. Like Pandoria would be a shell of a character without Zeke there to like bounce off of. Zeke is still like the more outgoing personality of the two, I think. Like I always like for sponsorship, I did write a lot of lines where it's Pandoria taking the lead, and it like justifies her more as her own character there. But Zeke is still definitely meant to be the focus here in terms of like how the game treats it, and like that's sort of like reflective of how he was in Source as well. Like the thing about making a 2-in-1 character is one of them essentially doesn't exist as far as the game is concerned, and so Zeke is the one I wanted to focus on. And it makes sense for their like dynamic from their Source. The thing is, there's pairings that could also work as like 2-in-1 characters. There's another example from Xenoblade in Matthew and A. Sani and Tess. Misha and Shizune from Katawa Shoujo would be a good pair to do as a 2-in-1, because like Shizune, how do you write a deaf mute girl for the game if she doesn't have an interpreter with her all the time? And then to make our overlord happy, Tojiko works well being there for Miko, but Miko would not work, or Miko works by herself with Tojiko supporting her, but Tojiko would not work well as a character by themselves. And so, like, you don't want to just be like, oh, make Aang and Katara as a 2-in-1, make Lloyd and Yor from Spy X Family as a 2-in-1. Don't make Emi and Rin from Katawa Shoujo as a 2-in-1, because they work as separate characters. Anyway, that's my ramble about 2-in-1 characters as a concept out of the way. With Zeke and Pandoria in the game, I'm really interested to know what you two think of them now.
Well, I wanted you to talk about how you made them bang in like 3 different ways.
Okay. Just for the fun of it, and because like I realized I could squeeze this into what little remaining file space they had while they were on testing. They have.
Why is SPNatI gone so woke? Why is it just me watching some other guy fuck these anime girls?
I mean,
these new characters.
Because you're not the Sikinator.
You're not the Zekinator.
Why does he get his government-assigned waifu?
Because he's royalty, that's why.
It all comes back to classism.
That is what they used to do.
But yeah, for their like heavy forfeit, they have like 3 different ways it can go, and the 2 where they just straight up bang are dependent on like a couple of things that don't really make sense to a lay person, but it's essentially if the game is already like over and like everyone else is out of the game already, or if another character has the tandem tag, like Jura and Barnett for instance, then they'll just be like, screw it, who really cares, and then screw each other.
Okay, so it's not just random.
Which version they do is random, but they only do it depending on what state the game is in. Like, they have 2 variants. One where Pandoria is on her hands and knees, and another one where they're facing each other, and Zeke is picking her up.
Mymans, did you give your thoughts already?
I didn't, actually.
Go for it.
So, Zeke and Pandoria, Nord characters, so therefore they're definitely, obviously, high-quality characters. So, amazing models. I think they're great translations of their original looks in Xenoblade to Kizike. I think the posing is very strong too. Near the end, like a little before they hit main, I believe you went back and like gave some of their poses like some customization, like with the hands and stuff, Nord. So, and I think that paid off very nicely. That one pose that Zeke has, where he like holds up his hand and looks evil, or like a demon lord or whatever. It's so chuny, and it fits him perfectly. I think their banter with each other makes their lines consistently interesting and fun to read. Like, I do think they benefit a lot from being a twofer kind of character. It makes their dialogue more special in a way, you could say. And I think their like over the top chuny personalities are like a delight. And of course, all their multiple forfeits are all very hot. And I especially like the idea of Pandoria wrapping her tail around CK's member, if you will.
You can't say penis on this podcast.
Cock!
Anything else?
They will be fucking more people.
Myman76 is typing.
They will. So they already have a dual forfeit or triple forfeit with Sucrose. You could expect more in future, because I cannot be stopped.
You really are the replacement Namasp.
I really am.
How does it feel?
Just you wait. Before long, it'll be a full orgy. SPNatI orgy mode. Hell yeah.
He's trying to set up Zeke and Maya. He's trying to hit on her, which I appreciate, just because characters usually don't hit on her.
He's trying. He's not succeeding, but he's trying.
I told you this off mic. It's not necessarily that she hates him. I think she just finds him a bit much. Anyway, I'm sure you appreciate the extra 5 megabytes of space you now have on the main roster. I don't know what you plan to do with it besides, I guess, dual forfeits, right? That's what you plan to use it for?
Well, I actually added a new feature to him, I'll say, which I'll get into in a minute, but I want to mention the
third ball?
No. The hand
I don't know what you're talking about.
The hand he does in his select pose and his smug pose, I added that because Solitaire did a sponsorship run for them. I wanted an extra sponsorship from him, and he pointed out they need a more dynamic select screen pose, because their old one was them just sort of standing in a like very neutral pose.
It was their driver's license.
Yeah. And so with their more dynamic pose, I had to like draw custom hands, and so I went back and added the custom hands to some of his regular poses, and I really appreciate it, because it gave me a second wind in terms of like really feeling the characters like just before they hit me. And
I like how they've come out, and I'm excited to see what you do with them in the future. It's definitely ambitious for you this late in the game. In your dev career, not that you're really slowing down all that much, but
yeah.
Oh my god!
So I've added the ability to unlock his eye patch as a wearable collectible.
Shining finger.
To unlock the eye patch, you have to enable Eye of Shining Justice mode. To do this, play against Gigas during the April Fool's event, or name yourself King Me, Queen Me, or Logos, which is a Xenoblade reference. It's like one of the main villains from Xenoblade 3. Actually, yeah, no, it was Malos. Malos is the incarnation of the Logos core crystal, or like part of the Trinity processor. So, lore implications. But yeah,
that's fascinating.
I have Shining Justice mode just makes him more difficult. So have fun, boss mode.
I don't know why people add that. I don't.
Some people.
I want them to all get naked.
Some people like it.
Those people are wrong. Anyway, since you're a lot of their poses use custom assets in general, I assume, just to keep space down, to keep them together in the first place. Definitely consider using kind of what I was talking about before with custom open and closed mouths to add to the pose variety. in a very economical way, just by giving them like silent poses or slight variations on existing emotions.
Silent poses, okay.
I'm just saying. There are a lot of poses they have where their mouths are already closed, and which is weird because he's kind of a loquacious character. And sometimes I felt that didn't quite mesh visually. There'd be times where like Pandy was taking the lead and she had like a long line, he had a short line. And I was thinking like maybe the character that talks more than the other could have an open mouth. And you can keep the closed mouth on the quiet one, and that kind of helps immediately tell because her text color isn't too different from the standard black. It can be a little hard to tell at first.
Is it? I thought it stood out pretty well.
I mean, it stands out, but it's like it's still you still have to think about it for a second because the pose doesn't tell you who's leading off or who's taking.
I don't know. I personally didn't have much trouble figuring out.
It's not a huge issue, just something to consider with the mounts.
Yeah, fair enough.
I have considered about giving characters more open mouth poses myself for my future projects. So it's a fair point, yeah.
It's the kind of thing, Pose Maker allows you to have both. Because both open and closed mouth poses are very useful for different things. We have one final topic, a character that's hard to find in the folder list because she's one of the few that start with O. She might be the only one that starts with O. No, we have Okino now as well, but she's also hard to find just because she's from Battleborn. It's Orendi, who is not new. She's quite old. I think she's from 2018 by Blue Coin. But what is new is her art. A couple episodes ago, we talked about Spooky and Ribbon Girl, also his characters, getting full art updates, model revamps. Orendi has as well. She has sharp teeth that she covers up, kind of like a reverse Bowser Jr. with a bandana. And big, like, weird, wavy black markings all over her body. And 4 arms. But she does have a very nice-looking new body now. And I hope Nord or someone else has the old one, because I don't. I will say, though, even from memory, this is a genuine improvement. He's had some nice custom breasts as of late. He even added them to Natasha and Dreamcatcher, his April Fool's characters. But very quickly, Mymans Nord, what did you think of this art update? She's a bit more of a gremlin back in the day.
Oh, yeah.
And then even... oh, look at that. Go ahead, Mymans.
So her model is a very busy one. Like I couldn't even tell what she took off for her first strip, but that's really just how her design is in her source. If anything, I think it's an impressively detailed model to do in Kiseki. The hair especially looks nice with those like swirly things it has. And having 4 arms, I mean, really, I can just imagine this model must have been kind of a pain to work with. Her look isn't for everyone. In some areas, she's just not conventionally attractive, and I'm sure that will unfortunately drive away some players. But for what it's worth, I think that for like a monster girl fucker like me, she is attractive. Based on a quick look at her source material, her deal is that she's an unhinged and crazy kinda gremlin girl that will probably bite your knees. In SPNatI, she's a very excitable weirdo, and she's very into seeing people naked part. Actually, she was surprisingly horny overall. She's sometimes rude, and she's usually impatient. And overall, I think she has a pretty entertaining personality. If I make a comparison, she reminded me a bit of Nifty from Has-Been Hotel, whom is also an unhinged, crazy, and excitable gremlin girl. That said, I think tapping a bit more into her unhinged side could be good. Like, she's not in a bad state right now or anything. She's pretty high energy and wacky already. But she could be just a little more crazy, I think. If I may make one suggestion, it's that her arms are pretty hard to see since they blend in with her hair, her black clothes, and later the black parts of her nude body. So giving them some form of like slight shine or something like that could go a long way to making them more visible, because I think she does get pretty emotive with her forearms, and it's a shame that it's so hard to notice sometimes. Though of course I know that this pretty much means that having to re-import all of her images just to add that, so I wouldn't blame Bluecoin for not wanting to deal with that tedium. I know I sure wouldn't want to do that.
It's one of those things where I think even in like official art and fan art, she has more like grayish or silvery, like highlighted arms. Just because this is a very busy visual design, and like he's done a great job at capturing a very like the very busy design of it all. But just in terms of like making it easier to like comprehend what's going on, changing the color of her arms would have been a good shout. It's one of those things that you can't really judge until you've seen a full game with it. But I definitely think, like when her shirt comes off, her arms and the details on her body kind of blend together a little bit.
Yeah, one of them even kind of looks like a clutching hand or a claw or whatever around her right boob.
Overall, though, I think her nude model is very well done. Gets the idea of like the wispy, organic look of the like markings across.
Yeah, I'll agree. She just looks a lot more attractive.
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree. Like, when I joined, like when I was a new player, I kind of like checked out every character in the roster, and I saw Orendi and I played with her, and then I was done with it, and I never really felt like compelled to check her out again because I didn't really think she was very attractive. But now with this new model, I will probably find myself revisiting her much more often. I think it was a very noticeable improvement.
Again, I don't know. It's a weird contrast between like you like this girl because apparently you're a monster fucker, a blue coin as I'm saying, but then you kind of sex her up and make her a little bit more palatable. Maybe he just likes fixing girls. He's like, I can fix her. I can make her beautiful. I'm not sure what the appeal is for him exactly. He's a little out there, but he likes what he likes, and I do respect that. And this came out really nice. I'm definitely a fan of the simpler school of character designs. I mean, you can look at Maya and Juro, whatever, and it's very just like solid colors and basic shapes for the most part, not too like intricate on the details. So
a noticeable mark of improvement is that she's gone from looking like she's wearing mismatched length socks to like actually having like this is just part of her like skin.
She doesn't look like a cosplayer. That's just the way it was back in the day. But yeah, very, very nice objective improvements, especially to the proportions and things. Very similar quality to his other model updates that he's been pumping out.
I'd also like to compliment how well he's managed to just pose her and express her in general. Because a model like this is going to be very complicated. The face in particular is quite well done with like having two mismatched eyes and all these other details around like her lips that you have to pose and the custom teeth. So it's very well done.
That's going to do it for our first installment in the 90s, fapping in the 90s for the Strip Poker Night at the Inventory podcast, our long, long, long march to episode 100. Which we would already be at if we had the courage to actually number all those 0.5s and 0.5s of yore. But we're gonna get there. Episode 100. Who knows when it'll come? But thanks for coming on, Nord, and thanks for coming on, Mymans, for a bit of a girthy episode. Well, we covered a lot of very nice content that's been added to the game, and we're gonna talk about even more in the future. Very nice slate of quality, I'd say, throughout. So do you have any final comments, either of you?
I like where SPNatI is currently. The roster has gotten really big, but even so, you still see new things, you still see new people, you still see new improvements. It doesn't feel like the game is stagnating, even though we have like over 400 characters, I think. I think that's really nice to see, and I hope that it just keeps going that way, that people just keep having fun making characters, and we keep having fun analyzing them and playing with them.
There was a discussion about this the other day about how SPNatI has had a big lull before, but the difference between then and now is that like even though the testing roster is quite small now, it's because characters are moving to main and then like as one character moves to me and another character moves in to replace it, essentially. Whereas years ago, when it was stagnant, characters were just stuck on testing for months at a time, or years, as it was. So the game is sort of like in a low point right now, but I have a feeling that once the Masquerade takes effect, well, not only are we going to see a lot more Masquerade characters, but I think we're going to get some new talent in.
We've had some. We have like fewer devs, but I think they have a better success rate.
Yeah, definitely.
The main.
Because we had that time where we had like 30 to 40 characters on testing at once, but a lot of them were like failing to meet the monthly deadline because it can be difficult to keep up with that. So in general, the game is sort of it's a bit quiet right now, but it's not stale. So yeah. Assuming the Masquerade hasn't started by the time this podcast episode comes out, consider joining if you haven't already applied.
Yes, and well, I hope you appreciate all these characters that have just slid in before the resort took place. By the time this comes out, it will well have passed. But remember to vote in the resorts. We're kind of stuck with it for now. That's the there are definitely a lot of characters now, and that's the takeaway I had when I voted, is that there are just way too many. It's a big ask for people to fill out 4 versions of the same poll with like 250 characters on it. So someone has to die. Who exactly? Well, you can vote. Make your choice. I've made mine.